guys, Oliver here from Spitfire Audio. You are listening to my piece for the Symphonic Motions library, through which I'll take you in this video. The library was recorded at Air Studios, where people like Hans Zimmer or Muse record their music, as well as big film scores such as Harry Potter or Inception have been recorded there. The library gives you instant, inspiring and realistic rhythmical string movements. It also solves the problem of realistic rebowing and ostinatos. We've used the same players on our symphonic range, so it makes it a perfect add-on pack if you own the symphonic strings. Don't worry if you don't own the symphonic strings, it also works perfectly with all other libraries recorded in the hall, as well as a standalone plugin. So before I play you my piece, I want to show you how this works. I want to show you some cool presets. If you want a detailed overview, please check out Paul's walkthrough down below. So without saying much more, I just want to play the Sixth Sense here, one of our presets. This sounds pretty cool. It gives me some random articulations or rhythmical movements, but that's exactly what I'm after if I want to get inspired. Let's have another listen here. Pulsing consort. And what I was saying, it gives you instant rhythm. So there's no programming. And because we recorded these up and down strokes with a bow, it sounds very realistic. I like to compare it to like just a driving train, and it's just compact, and you can achieve this kind of like dark night sound, or just, you know, like solve these kind of staccato or spiccato single notes that you have in normal string libraries, which are usually just down bow, and it gives you that certain realism. I'll do some A-Bing just in a second, so you see what I mean. So a next preset is Fantastic Worlds, and we've loaded 16th notes consort, and this sounds like this. Really wonderful sound. So down here, apart from selecting your presets here, you can also randomize within the articulation, which is a pretty cool feature. So let's say sul pont, so a much raspier sound. If we go down here, it selects different timings within the sul pont, and then you get these intricate kind of rhythms. Really, really nice stuff. Sul tasto. And then we have this overlay thing, so which is really useful when you want to create a melody within your ostinato or your rebowing movement. So let me just show you spiccato. So the first note you hit, then it hits a spiccato, which is a short note, and then it goes into the sul tasto movement. I mean, it can't get much better and more realistic than this. So with your left hand, you can play, but as I did, like a bass, and you can really hear it out because you have your spiccato attack right in the beginning, while on the top, the train keeps going there. Right, let me just play the piece in full, and I've used the library there in a different way. I used it much more like a tool. So as said before, it's an add-on pack. It's like a screwdriver, a specific screwdriver that solves one specific problem in your toolbox, which is the problem of rebowing. And I'll just play it to you and we'll take you through it. So let's start with A being. You hear my main motive here is this one. And you can hear how nice it sounds because ya da 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 da, right? And it's kind of nice and flowing, and because it's not legato in that sense. So this first note here, so basically it hits the same note 6 times, and with samples, this would sound kind of lame or unrealistic. I just demonstrate this here. I mean, you can make it sound realistic, but you need a lot of work and programming. And with this one, it's just hands-on and it solves the problem, you know. So it's, as I said, is a screwdriver for a specific screw that you want to unscrew, I guess. So to make the comparison, let me load here the first violin's consort. You can hear what's happening. It's re-triggering a down bow and it's much less fluent. And if we compare it with this one up here, I mean, how much more elegant does that sound with both voices? Right? And then here. It doesn't sound bad, and kind of buried within other libraries, etc. You probably get by, but this has just much more power, much more heart, much more soul. Because the real recordings, right, is actually players playing up and down bow. And I've showed you some ostinatos before, so they're not exactly your ostinato that you can maybe program in, let's say, in some of our other libraries where you can create any kind of ostinato. It's not that kind of library that gives you all that freedom. You have very specific ostinatos and things that you can't do with samples. Have a listen. So this is really hard to do with samples because yada, 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 that's like up and down bowing, right? And here I've used it in the cello range. And this is just so cool if you have this at your hands. And if I try to recreate this with symphonic strings cello, You could probably do something with a combination with longs and shorts or legatos and shorts, but again, you have to get into programming. It's less agile, it's less real, simply put. So I'm starting off my piece with this percussive patina, which is one of the presets. Quite cool, it's a combination between pizzicato and con legno. Let me mute this again, so I'm starting off like that. So up here, you've already heard what's happening through the A being, but just to show you a little bit in detail, I'm using the consort 12th notes, and you have 16ths, 8ths, or 6ths at your disposal. So it's the ones that we thought would be most useful to you. Again, you can't go off and program your own timings, etc. That might be slightly limiting, but you get just this incredible realism. And as you can see up here, I've got my tempo map here. I'm speeding up, I'm slowing down, I'm trying to recreate a real orchestral situation, and the library handles this pretty well, I have to say, because I'm running quite a few tracks here and I'm not running into problems yet. So this is absolutely stunning. So down here, my ostinato. As well, we have the same thing here. You don't have all the combinations in the world, obviously. You have eighths and sixths, and then you have minor seconds, major seconds, minor thirds, and major thirds. So here I'm using a minor third to start with. Then here I'm adding a major third. You can change your reverb, attack, decay, sustain, release, and even tape saturation. You have some other effects down here, and you have your mic positioning in this section here. I mainly use ambient because I like to use ambient and outriggers. If there are outriggers, here there aren't any outriggers, so I'm using ambient. Sometimes a little bit of tree, and in the low ends, I'm using close just for the heaviness and for the clarity. So what's happening here in the next section? So again, I'm slowing down the tempo here, and it just feels really live and real, and the library reacts really well to that. Here, my sul pont articulation with an overlay of sul pont, so you can hear that whenever I change the chord. So let me solo that. Up here, kind of my cello range. Obviously, you don't have the sections, it's all in an ensemble, so I'm just calling it cello for me to mix afterwards and to demonstrate for you guys, but that's kind of the cello range. And I think this overlay function is pretty cool as well. So here, whenever I change the note, my basically root note there, I'll mark it with a con legno hit. And here is answering these kind of phrases, but I'm changing the speed or the timing. So here I have 12th notes, and then I have 8ths afterwards. So much faster. And here I'm going into kind of a quiet middle section and take it down an octave. So together with this. Oh, here is a little bit sloppy programming there. You could hear that I just cut off the reverb there because I'm cutting off too abruptly the volume of the overall library. That's what expression does. So again, here you don't need much programming in terms of expression and dynamic. You just give a whole kind of, you want to get louder or more quiet. So obviously there's no note transitions in that same sense as if when you have longs or legatos. Let's have a quick look what's going on in my next section. So I'm starting with this pretty low, heavy riff, I was going to say. It almost sounds like a riff. So I'm using the preset A Good Start, just to play a little bit. So again, down here. So even this is wonderful. So I have spiccato at first to mark the one, and then it goes into eighths pizzicato, and then up here sul tasto about sixteenths. Just absolutely mind-blowing what you can achieve while just holding down a couple of notes. So, but that's my main motor down here. I'm just going to play this for you. Let's have a listen to these two together. Just really simple, but very effective here. Let's listen to these high notes here. Basically, what I've done here is I'm just copying my main motive there and put it through different timings and different octaves, etc., and arrange it differently. So the chord progression and motive is always the same. Very cool stuff there. And again, it's very simple to do. Let me just do a bit more accurate programming here. So here I have a T crescendo, starting again. I think that's one of my favorite things, how really accurate and dynamic this library actually is. Then down here, I'm using a bit of a trick here. I'm using a sub bass on these hits for your speakers to really ramble on those low hits. Let me just play this low section here together. To me, this sounds absolutely amazing and very real, especially there with the tempo changes and the slowing down, and then I changed the timings. You could almost imagine a conductor slowing down the whole orchestra. Let me play you up here a little bit, just the high section. I think that's best to demonstrate and to understand how this whole thing works. Here I should probably extend the release a little bit of the library so you could hear right in the end, the one was kind of stopped abruptly, and ideally we have the whole note play out. I'll go over my piece now again to check for these kind of things, clean up my MIDI, automation, and then I'll do a mix which you can check out in the description. Cool, I'll play you the whole track one more time. Thank you very much for watching and listening. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comment section and we're happy to help you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.